told my kids and my family to try and be quiet upstairs. So the dog barks or something. I apologize.
Don't worry about it. I got 2 little ones that are going to be running around here shortly.
Okay.
If they don't make an appearance, it's surprising. All right. Here it is. Listen to this quick.
Yeah, man. I'm on PlayStation today. Play some Knockout if you got some free time, RJ.
Hopefully I will. So
yeah, just let me know.
All right. Everybody ready?
Cheers, man.
Here we go. Let's go live. Welcome. Thank you for tapping into some Untapped Keg. I am one of your hosts, RJ Zimmerman, here with my good friend, Monte Ball. How you doing, big guy?
Oh, come on, man. I'm excited. I mean, look, we got an awesome guest here today, but obviously before we get to the guest, I'm good, man. I'm feeling good. I'm all right. I'm all right. Doing okay. How about yourself, man?
I'm good. I'm really good. Like the past couple days, kind of did some soul kind of refresh kind of work, and
same.
I feel really good today. Really, really good. And I got
got some exciting things.
My Jennifer Feeling Words mug here. Go to Art Hub, HAARTHUBB.com and order one for yourself. I'm just, spitballing here, but we're excited because we have a fantastic guest today. I'm very excited to introduce Troy Colmer, founder of Sober Athletic Wear. How you doing today, Troy?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for the invitation to join you. I'm really excited to speak with you and see where the conversation leads and get into some good stuff today.
Oh yeah, Troy, man. Just thrilled. First off, thank you, man, for lending us your time. This is gonna be awesome, man. Our listeners obviously are thrilled to hear about your story, hear about who Troy is, and what you got going on, man. But glad that you're doing well. And I guess we're just gonna go ahead and get started, man. So Troy, obviously probably a little bit about us. For myself, I'm a recovering alcoholic, going on 6 years here in August of this year. Love the podcast, love what we're doing. RJ, same. How many years, RJ?
8 years. 8 years in December. So it just recently came and passed.
Good for you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. So Troy, man, we kind of want to hear a little bit about yourself, man. Actually, a lot about yourself.
Sure.
Yeah, man. So I guess honestly, just wherever you want to start. I mean, who's Troy? What got you on the path that you're on, man? And honestly, you can share whatever you feel comfortable sharing, and we'll just take the conversation wherever it goes.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an open book, so I'm open to talk about anything, but I can give you a kind of a background of what I'm about and how we connected today. Obviously, is to do with mental health and addiction, and that's been a part of my life. So I started drinking alcohol at the age of 14 years old. Had some, I guess I wasn't really a nervous kid, but I had some stuff going in my life that I was kind of running from, I guess. And so I grew up in a very conservative home, right-wing kind of Christian home. And, and that's great. And I'm not here to say that that's not cool. That's just, I'm only telling you my experience. So I can only share how it impacted me and how I moved forward in my life. So I had a lot of guilt and shame in that particular scenario that I grew up in, and that's how I interpret it. So I just want to make that clear, that this is how I interpreted what I heard and what I did later in life to cope with it. So I had a lot of shame and guilt on how to live. You hear messaging in your family of what is a way to go, and that was a piece of it. But I think also maybe I was wired with to be attracted to alcohol. Maybe, I'm not sure, because I know I'd never forget the first day I tried it. I was 14 years old with my buddies. We were at a quarry near to the house. We used to go there swimming and stuff. It was like an old dugout quarry where they would take the rock and process it into other stuff for asphalt or whatever. So they fill it up with water, and so we used to hang out. And someone brought some booze one night, and I like fell in love the first time I tried it. It was just I don't know if you guys can relate to this experience when you try it. It just bring a relief to my brain that I had never felt before. It relaxed me in a way that I'd never felt. And I wrote a letter recently, because I just I'll get into a little bit of what I've been going through recently. But I wrote a letter recently to alcohol. I was in a 20-day treatment program, outpatient. I'd relapsed on October 4th of 2021. And I've been in a 7-year recovery process, some victories and stretches of sobriety, but really not taking it as serious as I should have. So that'll be a little bit later in the story as well. But when I started using alcohol, it was kind of because I was living a dual life. I lived a life that I thought my parents wanted me to live, but I also lived a life that I kind of wanted to live as well. So I lived two pathways, and it was very confusing as a kid because I wanted to please them. I wanted to please them, make them happy and make them proud of me and all those kind of things that we do as children. But I also had some questions, and I found that I couldn't live up to the lifestyle that I was being taught. And there was nothing wrong with that. I mean, my mom and dad were such loving people, great people. My mom's passed since, but my dad's still with me. He's 86 years old. He's down in California visiting my brother, so I miss him. We just dropped him off. I'm his main caregiver here, but phenomenal people. Just for me, alcohol was a real coping mechanism. I did it because I was a bit shy, I guess. So to meet and talk to girls back then, it was kind of like gave me a little bit of swagger because I was a little bit nervous. Socially, I wasn't quite sure where I fit in the world. I was, as an athlete, but I was also kind of on the outskirts because I didn't want to get too close to people, because I was told that, if you get into a certain crowd, it may not go well for you. And so I wasn't good at relationships as well, because I didn't know my place in life. So I lived that way till probably around 30 years old. And I made a decision that I had to live and be honest to my authentic self and who I am. That's when my life changed for the better. But I also was using alcohol quite a bit in my 20s. And even when I got married when I was 32. And I worked a ton. I was in the car business at the time, and I worked, 12-hour days, 6 days a week sometimes. And it was just a coping mechanism for me to get through. So I have the aspect of, I think, some mental health issues that I had going on, but also I may have some genetic predisposition to alcohol, I think. Mm-hmm. Nobody in my family, my parents don't drink. They never drank. So I wasn't exposed to it growing up. But I found out that some people in my family have had mental health issues and also had some alcoholic issues as I came out and told my story and was being honest. So, that's been my story for my life. And my wife approached me about, it was November of 2014. She came to me and she was very concerned about my drinking. And I was very unhappy. I had it in 2010. I had very, very deep depression going on in my life. Really not suicidal, but just really questioning why I was here on this planet. What was my purpose? And really lost. I didn't find any value as being a husband, a dad, employee, and just losing a lack of enjoyment in my life. I'm a huge sports fan. I didn't even enjoy watching sports. I didn't follow my teams. Like I just let everything kind of slip. And I was spiraling into a deep, deep depression and really anxious. But come to learn that alcohol helped me go down that pathway because it's obvious a depressant. And so I didn't really know, and nobody talked about mental health for me growing up. I'm going to be 54 next week. And so these conversations weren't happening. So as a kid, I just sucked it up. And when you're in sports, you hear, get up, don't cry. Guys don't cry. Suck it up, get up. Or if you feel you're having a bad day. Well, that's too bad. You get your pants on, you go to work and you support your family. There's no time off for that kind of stuff. You just do what you got to do. Right. So the old school mentality is kind of how I grew up until I went into a recovery process and started seeing psychologists and seeing counselors and digging into the real reason why I drank alcohol was eye-opening for me. But I still wasn't ready to commit, to be honest with you, until October 5th of 2021 this year. I went to a treatment program starting November 1st. And that's where I made the commitment finally. It took me a while. I'm not too bright. I got knocked me in the head a few times, but I got to a place where I went to an outpatient program. It was life-changing. A few things have come up for me is meditation is a big part of my life for the past 4 or 5. Very grounding, and it's teaching me to live in the moment. I lived a lot in the past, and I had a lot of anger about my past and the traumas that I went through as a child for myself, how I interpreted the world, and that's kind of what happened to me. And feeling guilty about living the way I did because I wasn't honest with people, which is one of the values that I held other people accountable to, but I didn't hold myself accountable to. And it's funny, the things that we're hard on people on team tend to be the things that we are not that great at, I find. So I overcompensated in making other people accountable and honest, and I wasn't that way myself. So I had to come out. I'm honest. I did also a 20-day posting on YouTube. Every day that I went to treatment, I posted about it and I put it on my Facebook. I put it on YouTube post as well as Instagram, Twitter. I mean, everywhere. I let everybody know what was going on with me. There's no secrets anymore. And I finally have come to a place that I can say I'm an alcoholic and not feel real guilt and shame around that anymore. So it's taken me a long time. My story has been a 40-year journey up until this point. And thank God, I finally did it for myself because, I don't know if you guys have ever been to AA or know much about AA. I'm not an AA person, but the meetings that I went to and on their coins to say, to thine own self be true, is kind of a motto that I start with. I have a cue card in my truck. And when I feel like I have a craving, I read my 10 reasons why I don't want to drink. The number one reason is to thine own self be true, because I was lying to myself, number one. And I couldn't get straight. I couldn't get sober without being honest with me, right? Until I wanted it for myself.
Absolutely.
There was no way it was going to happen. So I did he's my family, he's my wife, that type of thing, and snuck around, and it's things I'm not proud of doing. But I had to be honest. Now, they know everything, and it's been freeing for me. That's really been freeing for me. So to give you a little bit of background about why I started Sober Athletic Wear, I wanted to give back to people. I wanted to change the conversation surrounding addiction and mental health. And for me, my addiction, I think, stems a lot from mental health. Am I addicted to alcohol? Yeah, but I'm more addicted to the fact that I used it as a coping mechanism. I haven't had a drink now. I'm going to be 97 days today since I've had my last drink. And
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
Yeah, so this is my new streak that I've been on, and I didn't keep track in the past because I was afraid to fail. And I failed so many times, I felt the shame of that. So I didn't want to have a sober date. And I used it as a crutch to drink because I thought, well, I made a slip. Oh, I made a slip. And, until I got real about it and made a commitment to a day and saying, this is the day that I'm going to do it, and this is moving forward what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It's still scary. It's still scary to think of every day. We live one day at a time in the situations that we're in. So each day, I do my meditation, I do my gratitude journal, I do my prayers, and I set out for the day. And at night, I do the same. And I just say thank you for today, for getting through it. And that gratitude now has really, really helped me and changed my mindset. And working on my mental health has been a big part of that. So. The logo that if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If you're if you're listening on a podcast later, you won't be able to see it, but you can look it up at soberathleticwear.com and see the logo. It's just sober. Yes. I used to have Sober Athletic Wear because I thought I wanted to soften it for people, because some people may feel intimidated to wear sober on their shirt. But then I said, well, that's not for those people. It's for the people who need it, to wear it, that gets them through a day. I put on this shirt today and I'm going to stay sober today. If that's one person that it helps, then that's all worth doing all the work for it. And Fantastic. I want to change the word sober. What does sober mean? Well, on my website, it comes from Greek, and it means to be calm, to be level-headed, to thinking straight. So when you get sober, obviously that's what you do. You're not thinking the way you used to. And an addictive mind is a curious thing. Right. You know, your thinking is off. Mm-hmm. And so when you're getting sober, you can get sober from anything. So I have a hashtag that I use, sober from. Could be food, could be sex, could be drugs, alcohol, right. Shopping, could be whatever it is for you. We're all getting sober from something. You know, the mental health crisis that's going on in the world now is tragic. It's just as a pandemic as COVID is to us. It's people are dying left, right, and center from overdoses. People are suffering in silence from loneliness and mental health, and it's hard stuff. Yeah. So those are the people I'm targeting, and I want them to know, guys like us who have gone through it, we love them and care for them, and we want to be there for them. So when I see a sober logo, or someone wants to wear a sober logo, it makes me smile, because I know it's doing something for them to get them by, and it lets them know that they're cared for and loved, and someone is looking out for them. And so that word is my mission, to change the stigma and connotation around it, and that's why I chose it.
That's
kind of my background,
Troy, man. No, man, dude, that was amazing right there. It was 10 to 15 minutes right there. You really hit me hard right there in the heart when you were talking about your story regarding really trying your hardest to please your parents. And I mean, I wrote a book, and that's a lot about what I talk about in the double life. I literally talk about that in my story. And again, I'm not here to talk about myself, of course, but I relate to everything you just said so much. Like, I don't think you understand. RJ sitting there nodding because he knows.
Yeah. Well, it's the same for me too, right? I mean, like, we all grew up in that toxic masculinity that's all our parents knew. So that's all they knew, right? And absolutely. I mean, it's not
they did the best they could, right?
Absolutely. Right. But you know, one thing that I really loved that you said was, it took for you to admit to yourself, because we have a saying that we use a lot on Untapped Keg, and we talk about how you can lead the horse to water. You can't make them drink it. And that's what this is. But we say going sober is the most selfless, selfish decision that you can make. You have to make it for yourself, and it's going to benefit everybody around you.
Right.
But absolutely. If you are not making it for yourself, then you're not making it for the right reasons, and you are it's not going to take hold. And hearing your journey to get to that point is, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. We awesome. Both relate to you so much. I think that there's so many people out there that also are going to relate to this as well.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, because, like, it's guys like, that are normal everyday guys. I mean, I don't really have a platform, so I wasn't quite sure how I'm going to break in and tell my story and how people find it. But it's opportunities like this that I appreciate so much, because I want people to know that, my story is, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm an employee, but I'm also just kind of a regular guy. Like, I was a functioning alcoholic. I held down a job. I attended all of my kids. My kids were in competitive dance, so I traveled the country following them, and down into the U.S. and we'd go to Florida and Las Vegas and places like this for competition. I mean, I didn't miss anything. People wouldn't know on the outside of my house what was really going on. They saw me as a partier, 100%. They knew there was a party. They were inviting Troy. Troy's going to be there, but they didn't see me hiding my alcohol in the house, in the car. They didn't see me having vodka in my car on the way home from work, because I didn't want my wife to know that I had 2 drinks before I had the 6 drinks when I got home. They didn't see all those things They didn't see me in bed, crawled up in a ball, because my mental health was so bad that I just didn't want to get out and face the world that day. So there's people that go through these things, everyday people. You know, RJ, I know, Monte is a football player, and he's been in the spotlight, and he's got a great opportunity to speak to people, and they may listen to him. But guys like, I saw one of your podcasts. You're talking. I think you're in the utilities business, and you're talking about climbing a pole for electrical pole. It's guys like us, man. Everyday guys are going to tell stories to our friends at work or people in our circle that are going to see us and get inspired. And then it's awesome. I love that Monte comes on and he talks about his story, because he has a platform that he can get people to listen because of who he is. And it's great. And I think that's amazing, because a lot of people won't do what he's doing. They're ashamed and scared that it's going to hurt their brand. It's going to hurt who they are. It's going to hurt the opportunities moving forward. But when someone has the balls to come out and say that they have an addiction issue or mental health issues or whatever it is, and he does that, I was inspired when I watched your podcast. I loved it. I loved the dynamic, and I watched about 4 or 5 of them in a row.
Thank you.
So what you guys are doing is great work, and I applaud you. And I think your dynamic is great, especially being family, being buddies, but also sharing your story is powerful. And any guys that come out and willing to do it, I applaud you, because it's not easy. It's such a stigma. And I hear it, and you guys probably hear it, people who don't know that, we are alcoholics or we had mental health issues, and they bash people, right? And,
Oh yeah.
I hear guys at work that people are off, hey, what's this guy off work for? He's got mental health. Like, I'm busting my nuts every day going to work, and I go, and what's his problem? Like, he should be sucking it up. Let's get back, those type of conversations that we have. And it's like anything. It's mental health, or if it's racism, or if it's in these conversations that we hear, we have to stand up and talk and say, hey, that's not cool, man. That's not cool to say that. This guy's going through a lot of stuff. You should have some empathy for him. It's not easy to come forward and tell people that you're struggling as a man. It's hard. It's hard. We need to learn to be vulnerable. We need to be able to speak to each other. And I suck at it. I do, but I'm trying. I'm trying to reach out to my friends. I'm trying to be transparent with them. I text them, or in a group chat, and I'll say, listen, boys, I'm having a tough day, man. I need something to talk about. Like, how was the game last night, or whatever. Just something to distract me. And they'll encourage me. They look out for me now because I told them the truth. Right. So that's what it's all about. And the men, we need to stick together. The ladies listening, and the same thing. We're all in it together. But guys, especially, men's mental health is a big thing for me, because I see guys struggling, and it's hard. It's really hard to talk about it.
Absolutely. And I think this is perfect for my question I had for you, Troy. I got 2 things for you. For one, thank you so much for your kind words. I don't take all the credit. There is no way I would have the courage to speak about what I speak about if it wasn't for RJ encouraging me, pushing me, my family being very, very supportive of me, and me just really placing all of my trust in the folks who I just mentioned. Not caring about what anybody else thinks, and just saying, doing this for myself and my family, and obviously my child as well. Second, perfect segue. The question I have for you, because you mentioned it a little bit, briefly spoke about the toxic masculinity, and how that kind of fueled that alcoholism, fueled that, put dirt on it, right? You gotta scratch or whatever, put dirt on it, get
ice
back in the game.
Don't rub it. Don't rub it. We got ice.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So I kind of want to chat a little bit more about that, because we also talk a lot about men's health and just a lack of encouragement surrounding reaching out for help if you're a man in this country. And so with you, I'd love to chat a little bit more about that. So with you, with the toxic masculinity you mentioned, like, how did that really fuel that destructive path that you were on?
For sure. I mean, it's I think it's a little bit cultural as well. My family comes from an English background, and the English are well known to be kind of tight-lipped. They don't admit much. They kind of suck it up and I'm sure there's many cultures like that. Men in many cultures are like that. But that was my experience. And my dad's a phenomenal guy, but he's really not a talker. So we didn't share a lot growing up, and so I didn't have a role model of somebody who would openly talk. I knew he loved me, and I knew that he cared for me, but culturally it was tough. So I didn't really say anything. And I think the conversation back then, mental health just wasn't a thing when I grew up. I was born in the 60s. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and just really people didn't talk about it. And I think through sports culture as well, you see, I had a game I played and I'll never forget, I smashed heads with a guy. I saw stars. I lost, my teeth shattered. And there's no way I was admitting that I was hurt, because I had to get out there for the next shift. I was in tryouts and I was trying to make a team. And, the other people I talk to, my cousin is in Nashville and he played football. And he told me, many times we talked about mental health and the times where he was concussed and he just would not get up because there's no way that he was going to admit that he was hurt. And then there's other scenarios that you're in, social scenarios, in business. I was in the auto business. And the auto business is very ego driven. There's a lot of, it was mostly men at that time when I was in that business. And now the ladies are starting to come into that business, but it was just, I'm trying to find the word, but it was just a very closed culture of, you don't talk about things. You don't admit that you have a problem. You don't, and if you do, you're going to be made fun of. The slurs that are used, and I'm not going to use them here, to describe guys that are weak. They think that you're weak, and they, and that's the message that I got. So I was no way going to tell anybody. So I drank. It made me relax, and I thought it helped me to socialize, and I thought it helped me to do. It was a big lie. It was the biggest lie of my life. And when I wrote this letter to alcohol, I wrote it to him. It was almost like to a lover, and I was like, I fell in love with you, and you did me wrong, and all this kind of stuff. And it was true, because I believed that alcohol was a solution to my problems, and all it did was create problems. I look back at my life, and all the things that I got in trouble for pretty much can relate to me either being intoxicated or related to alcohol in some way. I had a DUI when I was 19 years old. I've sabotaged many relationships in my life because of alcohol. My marriages suffered because of alcohol, and I wouldn't even, and because I grew up in a scenario where I was told what to do a lot. When I became an adult, I didn't want anybody to tell me what to do. And when my wife approached me with the issue of alcohol, I told her, no one's going to tell me how to live. I don't care. I grew up that way, and I am not going to listen to anybody tell me how to live, and I'm going to do it my way. And that was unhealthy, and it was very closed-minded of me to do that. And I regret doing that, because she loved me and she wanted the best for me. And I couldn't get past the fact that I needed help, and I wasn't willing to take it. And she begged me and cried and said, Troy, please, and thank God we made through, and our marriage is getting much healthier as we move forward, and with the honesty and the trust coming back. But that, you're right, Monte. The as a guy, the masculinity thing gets in the way, and I got introduced to Brene Brown and what she does, and when I read some of her books about vulnerability and guilt and shame, it really put a new perspective for me as a guy to be able to do that. And it's funny, because when you reach out to people, it's not a negative thing. People are more loving and caring than you think. At least the people I know in my circle have been, and your true friends that you can reach out to, and the rest, it is what it is. I'm going to tell my story no matter what and what people think. But my buddy's got my back, and my family has my back, and that's where I'm at on that. Exactly. But it took a long time. Honestly, that masculinity took a long time to work through, and to be able to say, I need help.
Yeah.
And the thing that we're fighting right now is that statement. That's not weak. That's strength. That is the strongest you can be, is saying, I need help, and finding it. And I'm saying that, and I still struggle with it. Right. And I know, I'm not alone in that. But when we grow up a certain way, I'm 35, and I grew up same kind of way you did. Never talked about it. Always a rock. Then I go out and I get drunk, and then all these emotions and feelings would come out, where I would try to be that stoic. I would try to be level. I would try to be Spock from Star Trek, and it just wasn't gonna happen. It's not human nature. And the more that we learn about it, and the more that we take these words back, right? The more that we talk about our mental health and everything, it's helping the next person. And that's what I want to do when I talk, or when we have a show, is I want to blaze the path so that the people behind me have an easier time. I don't care what I went through. That doesn't mean you have to go through it, right?
Right.
That's what I try to do. Like, I'm the oldest and I have a little brother and little sister. That's what I try to do for them going through school. And, you know, they get mad at me because I set the standard too high, but I think it did make it a little easier for them coming through, was that way. So
sure. People do their best when they're pushed a little bit and held accountable.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's tough love, but I mean, you're right. It's, and I agree totally. I think being, you know, trailblazers, and the fact that we come out and we'll tell our story, you know, I don't want to be patted on the back I just want to be a guy, you know, because I care for people, and I want to be like a servant leader where you can see, hey, I've gone through this. It's hard stuff. It's hard to talk about. Right. And I tell my counselors that in the past, I used to dread going to my counseling sessions, and I would tell them, I don't want to be here, but I'm here because I know I have to get this stuff out. It's hard. It's hard to admit things that you held in your subconscious that you don't even realize that were there. And when I deconstructed my life and looked back, I wish I would have spoke out. I wish I would have had that mentor that I could have felt comfortable talking to. So that's what we need to be for other people. They need to know that we're there to talk to, or if it's not us, at least they know that people in their life will care for them, and that they're not going to reject them. They're not going to reject them. Find the people that really care about you, and you know who that is in your life, and you'll be surprised. People will tell you how brave you are. People will tell you good for you, or whatever comment that they bring. I've never had a negative comment yet from anybody that I've approached for help saying, suck it up, Troy. Come on, man. Like, this is BS. You don't, you know, you don't need to go see a psychologist. You don't know. You're fine. Don't worry about it. It's okay. No one's told me that. They've accepted my story that I've told them as truth, my truth, and they are on board to help. And I appreciate that. And I think we can do that as guys, really, you know, be trailblazers in the fact of telling our story, and whoever finds us, however they find us, we put it out there into the world through social media, and hopefully someone hears it. It saves somebody the grief that we went through, especially catching alcoholism early. I mean, there's different levels of alcoholism, obviously. And if you think you have a problem and you can't give it up, I thought I could give it up. I could not give it up. I couldn't. So that's caused a problem. And when you know there's a problem in your family, it's causing problems within relationships. It's causing problems in your job, or you're late, or you're tired, or you're not giving your best performance, or whatever it is. It's causing a problem. So for me now, I can be the best that I can be. I wake up clear-headed. I wake up feeling good. I've dropped some pounds because I'm not eating badly, and I'm not drinking, you know, heavy calorie beer. I was a beer guy. And so I feel great. I'm doing self-care with meditation and prayers. And, you know, I get a massage. I went for a massage yesterday to treat myself, just to relax.
There you go.
You know, stuff like that I wouldn't normally do in the past. But I'm taking time for myself too. That's another thing that people need to understand. It's okay to be a bit selfish when you're in the early stages of your recovery, because you really have to take guard. I'm going through some things called post-acute withdrawal symptoms, and I didn't really realize what they were until I met with my group. And was very lethargic. My memory was kind of sketchy. I was forgetting things, and these are all symptoms that come up later on. From what I'm learning is from 6 months, even up to 2 years, they can come and go, and to be on guard, because when you have those moments, a relapse is much more easier to make a decision to say yes instead of no. And just learning as I go along here, little tidbits that I post and talk about to let people know that if they're going through recovery and they want to be successful, I just share what I've been going through, my story, and hopefully it helps them in some little way.
Sure it is, man. I can guarantee you it is. And I got a question for you, man. I think, we talk about, with me, I'm really big on your environment, right? Because I always share on the podcast, right? You can go and receive treatment, X, Y, and Z, do what you need to do while you're away, but it coming back into the environment that was extremely stressful on you, provided it just gave you many anxieties, stressors, all of the above. How important is that for you, Troy? When you talk about your environment and who you're placing around you, while you're on your path towards or in recovery?
Yeah, as over the 7 years that I've been in the recovery process, a lot of relationships have stayed, but have become different, to be honest with you. So people who know that I'm in the situation that I'm in will tend to not, I ask them not to really invite me to things that I know that I'm not going to be successful at anymore. So I've reached out to actually tell them, I said, I might say no, please invite me. That's okay. I don't mind being invited and I appreciate it, but I might have to say no sometimes. And I want to be around people that are I like positive people. I love being around people who are positive and are energetic, because I'm a kind of mellow guy. So I really feed off of people too. I set a lot of goals and I have high standards for myself. But if you know me, I'm standoffish. I'm a little quiet. So I feed off of people who are very, very pumped up. I like people who are excitable. But I had to remove myself from attending different functions. My work functions too. I've taken a short-term disability leave from work because I needed to get sober and straightened out, and I hadn't taken the self-care time that I needed to in the past. So as of right now, I'm very nervous to go back to work because I travel for my job, and when you're by yourself, you're only accountable to you. So if I'm in a hotel for a week or two on the road traveling, or if I have to go to a conference or a trade show, those are the times that make me very nervous. And people in the past that I've hung out with, I'm going to have to now tell, I don't do that anymore, and this is the reason why, and be very, very honest about it. And that's not easy for people to do, because these aren't friends that are my daily friends that I see. These are acquaintances that I meet up at different conferences or trade shows, or customers that I meet as I travel. So being in a circle that, first of all, I think being honest is number one. You can still be friends with people who are in that world, but being honest with where you're at. Second of all, understanding where you need to draw the line for yourself. Can you go to a bar and hang out and watch football? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's something that someone has to decide. I've decided that's not for me. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to just be very, very cautious of where I go and who I'm around until I get some time under my belt where I have the tools and my cravings kind of subside a little bit more as I go on in my sobriety. But it's a daily grind, I find too. It's something that, it's overwhelming. From the overwhelmingness of me of thinking never drinking again was scary. So if through my mindful practices of meditation and so forth, I stay in the moment now. I live second to second, minute to minute, hour to hour. I don't look too forward ahead, because I get overwhelmed and I get anxious, and that's when I get into a bad headspace. And I've learned to forgive myself for my past and people that I had hard feelings towards in the past, which is now I don't look back anymore as well. I shouldn't say I don't look back anymore, but I look back less. And I'm getting better at letting that stuff, let it go, and be true to myself. There's a lot of little things that I've made adjustments for, but the environment that I'm in now, I'm surrounded by people who care about me, who want me to be successful. And so that's where I'm at. And that's the people that I need to be around.
Oh yeah. The beauty about what you shared, and then RJ, I'm shut up and stop talking. But Troy, the beauty about what you shared, man, is that you have a plan. You have a plan with with these certain individuals in your life, when they're going to be probably asking you if you want to go to the bar to watch a football game or something, having that game plan in a sense. And I think that's the brilliant part about that. And really want for our listeners to understand that as well is it was awesome what you said. You could still be friends with those folks who maybe still doing the things that you no longer take part in, but just have that plan. Have that plan for when certain events come up, your exit strategy, if you were to attend, what time you're going to leave, who you're going to go with, who you're going to communicate with while you're there. All of that stuff is very, very important, and some great nuggets for everybody tuning in. Thank you for that, man.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ghost.
The toolbox is very important because you need to be able to and execute as well. Yeah. And I think the honesty part, to be honest with the people you're around, if you're at that point in your life, I think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
One thing that I did, I similar when I first started, but I would ghost. I would just leave. Like if I was starting to kind of falter a little bit or be a little uncomfortable or whatever it was, I didn't say bye to anybody. I'll talk to them later, and I just ended up leaving, and that's okay.
The Irish exit. What is that called?
Is that what? I don't know.
It's called. Sure. I think they just leave. Don't say anything and just ghost.
I used to do what I would say. I had to go to the washroom and then just disappear. If I told the guys I was going to the washroom, they knew I was gone.
So one thing that we talk about a lot, especially in early sobriety, is hobbies. Hobbies are really important. They build up confidence, and you have time now that you used to spend doing something else. And have you gotten or tried new hobbies or picked up an old one and put more into it?
Tell you what, the funniest thing for me that's really helped me is getting a dog.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Exercise wise, so it's really brought structure to my life. And I'm not telling everybody to go get a dog. I'm just telling you what it's done for me.
Right.
I get up early. I feed the dog, take it for a walk. So I start my day that way, and then throughout the day, it gives me some exercise of walking. And but to be honest with you, the unconditional love too is unbelievable when you have a pet. But I also read a lot. That's one of the things I do. I love music, so I'll put on my Apple iTunes and kind of float around and listen to music. A lot of self-care. I do journaling. I have a little book called the 5-Minute Journal. I think you can get it at, I don't know if you guys have Indigo chapters in the States or whatever bookstore that you have there, but in Canada, that's where we go.
Okay.
5-Minute Journal, it's awesome. And it's a gratitude journal as well as, what would make today a great day. You kind of review your day at the end of the day and say, how did you do? Or what was something that was great for today? So you're always forced to find gratitude in your day, every day. And it really changed my perspective for a day. If I woke up and I was a little bit hazy and I was like, oh man, I got to get going today. Okay, where's my journal after, let the dog in the backyard, and then I sit down and I have a coffee and I do a little bit of meditation, and I get to my journal, my attitude has changed. And it's a lot of it is the attitude, walking into a day positive makes a huge difference for people who are alcoholics, because negative thoughts really drive a lot of our behavior. And through the treatment that I was in, thoughts are only thoughts. They're nothing that you have to execute on or anything. And it can get you down if you dwell on them. So by being grateful and writing it down every day and just taking that 5 minutes really, really has helped me a lot. So that's one of the things I do is self-care. And I can't do too much of it because I have a life that I got to do. There's work and other things going on. And, you get thrown curveballs throughout your day, that's things that you got to do. When I do have some downtime, I watch sports. I love sports. I watch darts. I don't care. If it's a competition, I'll watch it on TV just because that's the way I'm geared. But journaling, meditation, I would highly suggest for anybody that's having problems or mental health issues and depression and anxiety. It is amazing. And it's not hokey pokey kind of stuff, California, kind of kiss hippie loves kind of thing. It's really, really about centering yourself and just even breathing. being in the moment and breathing. And one of the things that I've learned through meditation is concentrating on the gap even between your breaths. That was powerful to me, to know that in the moment, that is one little thing that I can concentrate on, because your mind is wandering when you meditate. So you're always trying to come back to your meditation. That's part of meditation, is training your brain to stay in the moment, because all these kind of thoughts come. When I focus on that little gap between my breaths, that really centers me. And for me, it's like being one with the universe for a split second at a time, every time I breathe. And it just reminds me to stay in the moment. That, I think, is a big thing for people with addiction and mental health, to find something that is that stress relief that you're looking for through whatever your DOC is. So those are the things that I do. And I've had to incorporate it, and it's taken practice. I'm like a ADD. I'm looking all over the place, and I'm, looking at a squirrel out the window, and, it's tough to meditate. Your brain goes all over the place if you have a certain type of brain that I have. So, to slow it down is really beneficial for me. Mm-hmm. I found it phenomenal. So that's just what I do. I walk, I journal, I read, I listen to music, and I watch sports. Those are kind of my go-tos. Have you what other stuff, if someone invites me to try something a little outside the box, I'm open.
Awesome. Have you read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now?
I have not.
Ooh, it's a good one. It's a good one. Yeah, The Power of Now. It's pretty much a lot of what you just stated right there, right? Just living in the moment, and no longer dwelling on the past, and kind of minimizing as many anxieties as possible by not worried about the future and what's to come. Just paying attention to what's now. He's a very great writer, meditator, all of the above. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing book. Eckhart, Eckhart, Tolle, Tolle.
I'm familiar with him. I haven't checked that book yet. I'll check that out.
Yeah. I recommend it.
That's awesome.
I read that book about 3.5. No, it's probably about 5 years ago now, actually. Excuse me. And it for me, it just gave me a different perspective, right? Of just like you said, you can find something in your day to be to be happy about, to find gratitude some way, somehow, and focusing on that moment, the now. And
have you guys found that in your journey? Is just trying to slow down and be mindful? That's helped you? I don't want to start asking the questions, but
no, absolutely. Feel free to ask any question. For me, I haven't done it like I would say purposefully very often, but when I do, I have ADHD. Like, I usually am taking medication. I haven't, because I ran out of it for like a month and a half, but I have an appointment on Thursday to go get some more. But when I am able to slow down my thoughts, and I'm able to be in the moment and focus, it is really beneficial. I mean, so my hobby that I picked up was cooking, and that helps me like kind of get into a meditative state. And that is kind of when I slow down, and I am able to process a lot of what has happened during the day, to be honest. I don't cook every single night, but when I'm going through a lot of emotions, like during a week or something, I'll usually go through and find meals, and I will cook more that week than, and then like I'll cook out of a box like for the rest of them. But yeah, that's that. So yes, to answer your question, yes, it has helped.
That's
me.
Double beneficial when you're married, because then you're getting points like left, right, and center by doing the cook too.
Oh yeah. My wife is not a great cook, so she appreciates it when I cook.
We're foodies in my house. We love cooking and we love food. And I would try all different kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's cool to hear. I think cooking is really relaxing too, and especially when you knock it out of the park and you have a great meal. It feels good.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
What do you do, Monte?
Yeah. I love the cooking, right? It's not something that I really do a lot, but I do understand it a little bit. I like to cook steaks. I don't do it all the time, but I understand what RJ talks about, just it kind of calms the brain, occupying the hands, right? just allowing for you to just be in that moment and doing that, and trying different spices, all of the above. But for me, what I really like to do is write, journal. I don't journal daily, most definitely don't. But when my emotions are getting the best of me, I love to write them down. It kind of helps me to work through them, process why I may be feeling a certain way, and understand maybe something happened today that reminded me of something in my past, and that's why I'm feeling a certain way. So I love to do that. Outside of that, read as well. And I love to, I really, really love to talk about space. I'm not, okay.
Are we going to get into
when
it?
we talk about, no.
Okay.
But when we talk about conspiracies, right? Being a conspiracy theorist, there's a spectrum, of course, right? You got ancient aliens way over here where it's just sometimes it's just way off the wall. It's like, okay, bring it back, guys. And then you got, the very minimal conspiracy theorists. I'm more so in the middle. So me, I love to learn about space. When my mind is starting to get the best of me, I'll just dive into information about space, new telescopes, satellites, all the above. And that kind of just the unknown about space and the thrill of trying to figure out information kind of calms me. And so, yeah, for me, just I love to learn.
Yep.
And by not drinking, not being drunk all the time or hungover, I have the time now to be like, oh, let's try to figure out some new information. Yeah. Try to outsmart the astrophysicists.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, and that's what I love, man, about kind of real quick, going back to your story, just the vulnerability that just right off the bat, man, the vulnerability that you displayed is, honestly, I hope someday I get to that moment. I've been sharing for a very long time. But for some reason, the way that you shared, that was very powerful. And I can't thank you enough for that, Troy. I really can't. I appreciate it. Just from you sharing that, I think your voice helping me.
I think your voice would be powerful. I would love to sit on a panel with you one day and talk to people at a conference and things like that. I mean,
we'll do it.
That's kind of what I want to do.
Make it happen.
With my sober stuff too. I just want to. I sure want to sell stuff because I like the logo and I want to get people, proud of that. But part of it is getting out into the community and having talks and going to schools and letting kids know, I started drinking when you were, and this is some of the things you might want to look out for. And cues with mental health, early, because
absolutely
when, the brain is developing at that time. And if it gets used to having alcohol into it, that's the reason why the drinking age is 21, because the brain is not really fully developed till about 25 years old. So if you start filling it with chemicals early, it gets used to it. And your chances of becoming dependent is far, far greater if people start experimenting early. So, kids have to be told that and cognizant of it, so they can make an informed choice of what they want to do. Not there to beat them up whatsoever, just, blending stories and telling. I think we all learn by stories. I mean, that's the way, it's happened for thousands of years.
Yeah.
People have told their stories to the next generation. And I think it's important for them to see, people in the community who are willing to talk about it. And even going into businesses, I'm sure HR departments are suffering across the countries. In my country, I know in Canada, we're having a problem with finding people to work. It's just people are off. They're questioning what life is all about during this pandemic, and HR departments have people off. They're sick. They're mentally ill. They're having hard times. So how do I, hours and hours and hours a year? I'm sure hundreds of thousands of hours a year are lost to people being ill, being away from work. Well, let's be proactive, and let's put things in place where they can come and talk and know that it's okay to reach out and say, I'm having an issue, or, you feel comfortable with your boss, even say, you know what, I'm having a hard day. I would hope that we would get there as a society, that it's okay to talk about these kind of things with various people. And I just think there's programs that we can be developed that can help people coming through, successfully. And people generally are hard workers. They want to do well, but when they're sick and they're having a hard time, I think it's really important. And that's kind of where I see my company going as well, is not just selling swag, but also getting into the, more of a human element to it, where we're talking about, or having, meetups and things like that, and having people
That's
feel
awesome.
comfortable to come and chat about it, because, I'm going to probably stick in the genre more of men, because I think there's a big need for men to get into groups and talk. And I'll let the ladies do their thing for now, but that's my niche. I think that I'll probably end up walking towards as I move forward.
And part of the reason that I wanted to start this podcast was because, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts for 12, 13 years, maybe. Yeah, probably about that long. And so many of them, because of our culture and society, are around drinking, and, there's so much alcohol involved. And there's one in particular that I enjoyed the most, because he would talk about being sober for 10, 15 years. And then he'd be like, I don't begrudge anybody who does it and stuff, but it's like, why can't we have entertainment where alcohol's not at the forefront? Because you don't need it to have fun. Like, sure, it lowers some inhibitions in some people and they can handle it, but you can have fun and everything without it. So let's show that we can. Let's talk about our stories. And, last week we talked about dry January. And one thing I said was, if you're just doing it for dry January, go to do the things that you would do with alcohol, but do it without. And see if you enjoy it, because you will. Right. You'll learn that you will. Now, if you're going sober, I don't recommend doing that. If you are giving up alcohol for your health, for your mental health, anything, I do not recommend putting yourself in those triggered situations. But if you're just trying for dry January, go for it. Have at it. Don't drink, and see how much fun you still have. Gosh, what you're doing is so, it's really, it's not just inspiring, but it's exciting to see it. It's aspirational, and it's so awesome to meet somebody who feels similarly. And I'm excited to see what you do. Jenny has a question before we let you go. So she said, was there anything specific that helped get you into your gratitude journey? Was it your outpatient treatment, or was it something you read?
Yeah, it was as actually one of the addiction counselors had talked about it. He recommended journaling, and he said he did this 5-minute journal. So I've always, I attend a church that's very, very positive, and they talk about it, but I never really tried it. I just I didn't try it. So I said, well, I'm off. I'm going to give it a shot. Why not? And see what happens. And it was one particular day when I was going through treatment. I can't remember what it was. And I've had most days were pretty good emotionally, but I had a few real tough days when I had to deep dive into some things that were very personal. And so I was getting up one morning, and it was the previous day was very emotional, and I was drained. And, I was going to this treatment program as a sponge. I mean, I was there to soak every morsel of everything I could get of knowledge to be successful. I was there, one of these keeners, like in the front row, already asking questions. I was, sometimes I had to be quiet because I was dominating the conversation too much and asking too many questions. I'd let other people. But this particular morning, I pulled out my 5-minute gratitude journal, and how it changed my day really took me aback. I didn't really think too much of I just thought I was forcing myself in the beginning to do it, so I would get in the habit of being grateful for something and thinking that way. But as I did it, it really, it's like a practice, it's something like practice, one thing you can know when you're running drills in football. I always use sports analogies, always. That's just the way I am. So even like, I'll use like a lineman. A lineman has, I'm sure, so many ways they can block, but these guys are 32, 34 years old doing the same things they did in Pop Warner to stop the guy across from them. And why do they still do it? Because they have to practice it and perfect it. It's the same when you're in this journey of recovery. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to get your ass knocked down sometimes by the defensive guy. When you're an offensive lineman, he's going to knock you over, but you're going to get back up, and you're going to learn a technique or whatever. I don't know. I'm looking like I'm doing karate here, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So it's a discipline. It's a discipline to do it. And I find now that through the discipline of doing it, that particular day turned a light bulb on for me, saying, I need to be grateful. I have, other than the little thing that I'm going through is my recovery, I have a great life. I have a great life. I have two beautiful, healthy daughters. One's in university, one's in high school. They're doing awesome. I have a loving, caring wife who stuck with me through all the garbage I put her through. I have a house. I have cars to get to work. I have a job. I have all these things, even, the basics of life. I had a chocolate.
Uh-oh.
That you're grateful for. So I would put down, you run out of things to talk about in your gratitude. So you start thinking of the little things, the little morsels of life that you find joy. And I found that those are the things that bring me the most joy. I had a great meal last night, or I had this, or I met a friend for a coffee. We had a great conversation, whatever it is. But it's a really how the practice of gratitude will over time make you more grateful naturally. I think that's what I would encourage people to do, because it's like meditation. It's uncomfortable in the beginning because you're not really sure you're going to be successful at it. And your mind is flying all over the place and you're thinking you're getting nothing out of it. But the next time you do it, you get a little bit better at it. So I did guided meditation through an app called Calm. Okay. And they would talk you through it. So the lady who was talking always would bring me back if I was away. And I found that helped me get into it, because I needed somebody telling me, kind of guiding me what to do, or my mind was wandering all over the place. So I like guided meditation myself. That's what I prefer. So I stick with that. But really, to answer the lady's question, is practice it, but try it. You have to try it first of all, and let go of that fear that you're not going to be able to do it. Over time, you'll see the gratitude come in your life, and it will change you. It'll change your mindset. So what you're feeding your brain on a daily basis matters. Really does matter. And that positivity and gratitude helps. I found a lot.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
What you feed it is what it's going to produce, what it's going to come out. It's like in a computer. What you put in garbage in, garbage out, or you're putting in positive stuff, you're going to get positive stuff out.
Right. That's brilliant answer. Jenny, that was a really great question, Jenny, and awesome answer, Troy. Yeah. Go ahead, RJ.
So kind of we're winding down here. We're coming to an hour, and what do you have coming up? So people go to soberathleticwear.com, check out the clothes. Like they're awesome. They're really comfortable. The sizing is, I would say, true to size. I really do dig the logo too. Like when I saw Becca have it, I'm like, where did she get that? Because I need that. So that was, go there and look it up. But do you have anything like coming up that you want to talk about, or your Instagram? Do you post a lot there? And Twitter and stuff.
I'm trying to even remember what my addresses are, because it's so long ago I set them up. I think so one is Sober Athletic Wear, at Sober Athletic Wear for my Instagram. On my YouTube page, I've changed it so many times. I've tried to find something catchy so I just call it Sober Athletic Wear now, because I changed it and actually I used my logo in as what the page was called. And I think because the way it's spelled, this is phonetically how if you look in the dictionary, you'll see this under the word sober. That's what it is, phonetically how you pronounce sober. So yeah, you can find me there. Coming up, I'm working with some local community people now. We're going to probably do some events in April. So this may not translate well for you guys in the US, but for sure, you look out for, I'm going to be starting a podcast myself, or at least a vlog of some sort. Like I'm always going to be out there talking about my journey. If it's going to be with other people or not, I haven't really decided that yet, but I'm going to get serious about that. I've been encouraged to do that because a lot of people are telling me, Troy, your story has some value. You're pretty honest about it. So why not just put it out there? So that's what I'm going to try and do in the near future. So if that happens, I'll have you guys on and we can chat again, and I'll ask you questions maybe. That'd be cool. Yeah.
We would love that.
Yeah. And stuff, I really want to get into attending conferences, and I want to get my story. I want to hone my skills as a speaker. I was such a shy kid. I mean, it would terrify me, but something happened to me early in my life. I got a job when I was about 18, and I got put on the reception at this fitness clinic, and I had to start talking to all these I thought really high people in society that came in, all these lawyers and doctors and things like that coming into this. And it really caught a fire for speaking. And I don't know what happened to me, but I love talking about it. Now I don't really have a fear anymore of crowds and talking and things like that. So I think being honest and transparent is number one, but also, when you come from having a heart of wanting to help people, that really makes it easy too, because telling your story is not as scary. People are there to hear and learn, and some people may get one little tidbit out of it that's going to help change their life, and that's great.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I'm looking forward to in the future, is doing some speaking, doing some podcast, and then my normal stuff. You'll see me posting about my clothes and things like that. I mean, I'm partial. Maybe I love the logo. I think it's pretty cool. And you don't have to be in recovery to wear it. That's another thing that I really want to talk about too, is if you're supporting somebody or you just support people with having mental health, it's okay to wear it too, because there's a stigma with this word. And I know that people will probably might be shy or embarrassed to wear it because people might think that they're an alcoholic, or what does that mean? Why are you wearing that? And really what I want people to do is ask questions.
Yeah.
They see the logo,
ask
questions. So people who are sober or people who drink say, well, this is what this story is about. This is what sober is about. And this is what the mission is to change the meaning of sober. It's to help people. It's to support people in recovery. One day, I'm trying to get a partnership with a local organization. So some of the money that I raise will go back into the community, because they can only exist through donations. So that's another thing that I'm trying to do, is by selling this merchandise is the more that I sell, the more that goes back into the community and helping people. Maybe people don't have insurance that they can afford to go to a clinic or whatever it is, that an inpatient, outpatient, so maybe we'll have like a, scholarship sort of thing to help fund people to go do that. So there's a lot of ideas. I've only been in business since November 2020. I'm opening a business in the pandemic probably wasn't the smartest idea, but I had such a passion for it that I thought, I have some time. I've had an entrepreneurial spirit. I haven't really done this in my life, and really comes from a passion. So the success of it is having people either get well or get help, or ask questions, or feel comfortable, or not be ashamed, fill in the blank of what, people can get from the empowering of the word for them. So I hope people take it to heart, see it, are proud of it, and people who are supporting other people, or just, in general support mental health causes, or, see the logo, will research a little bit on the website why I do what I do, and hop on board and join the movement. That's what we're trying to do here, and help people.
That's amazing.
There it is. There it is.
So,
there it is.
Mons, where can people find you?
Yes, indeed. You guys can find me on Twitter at MonteBall28, Instagram MonteBall, obviously our Untapped Keg pages. Shoot us questions, topics, guests you want to see, all of the above. Get you connected to Troy if you want. This was awesome. RJ, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at It's Trickster, ITZ. The I is a 1 in Trickster. Untapped Keg pages. Hit us up with anything. We'll be there. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can. We check them fairly often, and nothing's off limits. I mean, we'll keep it anonymous, and conversation stays between us, but reach out if you need it. And this has been really awesome. Thank you, Troy, for joining us. We really appreciate it, and being so vulnerable and sharing your passion, because your passion is infectious. And
Appreciate it.
Let's try to be better tomorrow than we were today, because at least if we didn't make it, we tried. Have a good week, everybody. Catch you later.